Welcome to the webinar. I can see a few attendees have joined. We shall give a few minutes for a few more participants to start, and then we'll start at 2 minutes past. So we'll kick off. Welcome everybody again. Hello again, and welcome to the webinar for the GSMA Innovation Fund for Green Transition for Mobile. You can see a QR code on the screen. You can use that, scan and use that to keep up to date with some of our work, and of course hear news about future innovation funds. So we are really excited to introduce this new fund, and it's great to see there's so much interest from all of you in learning about this. We'll kick off as other joiners are joining us, and we'll please go to the next slide. So my name is Leonard Corre, and I'm a senior manager in the GSMA Innovation Fund based in Nairobi, Kenya. I'll be leading the webinar today, and I'll also be joined by some of my colleagues later on who will focus on different aspects of the presentation. We hope this webinar gives you the clarity you need about the fund, and will obviously give you valuable takeaways to help you in building the pitches. We shall, of course, be answering any of your questions. So feel free to type them in the chat as we move along the presentation, and we'll try and answer as many questions at the end of the session. If you could move to the next slide. So before we start, this fund would not be possible without the support of the GSMA. So this fund is supported and funded by the GSMA and supported by its members. So we're immensely thankful for this support. Next slide. For today's session, we have a packed agenda, and here is what we shall be focusing on. We'll introduce who we are as the GSMA, Mobile for Development and the Innovation Fund, our work and the impact we've had since inception. We shall also introduce the new fund for green transition for mobile, which focuses on device circularity and green energy solutions, what kind of projects we are looking for, and provide tips for prospective applicants. We shall also focus on what type of support GSMA will provide to successful applicants, the eligibility criteria, and we shall also be looking at the timelines. One of the fun highlights of today's sessions is hearing from a current grantee about their journey and experiences with GSMA. And then finally, we shall have a Q&A where we shall answer your questions. So again, reminder, participants throughout the session, please submit your questions through the chat function. Also note that the session will also be recorded and posted in the website. So if you miss anything, you can always refer back. So I'll talk about GSMA. For those who might not be familiar with the GSMA, I'll do an introduction and then narrow it down to the work we have in the GSMA Innovation Fund. So the GSMA is a global industry association that unifies the mobile ecosystem. We bring over 800 mobile operators and the wider ecosystem in the mobile space, 400 plus companies. And we want to advance the work in the mobile industry by unlocking the power of connectivity so that people, industry, and the society can thrive. We do this through work in regulation with government, policy, research, and through convening the industry in events such as the Mobile World Congress series. If you could move to the next slide. So under GSMA, we have Mobile for Development, which brings together the mobile industry, different partners to drive innovation in digital technology, which reduces inequalities in underserved markets and contributes to SDGs. Our areas of expertise are financial inclusion, digital inclusion, climate resilience and adaptation, and humanitarian response, with key themes such as gender inclusivity and focusing on local digital entrepreneurship, which is the work of the GSMA Innovation Fund. If you move to the next slide. So looking specifically at the GSMA Innovation Fund, which is the engine within GSMA that provides funding to startups. The GSMA Innovation Fund supports small enterprises or SMEs that use digital technologies to address global challenges for underserved populations. The fund helps these startups to reach scale through facilitating partnerships, providing technical assistance, and other tools for growth. So far, we've impacted over 121 million people across different markets that we work in. So a strong focus of the fund is innovation, building scalable solutions that are commercially sustainable and scalable. Following, if you move to the next slide. So on follow-on funding, to show how this support has impacted our portfolio companies in the last decade plus. So We started providing grants in around 2013. We've funded over 175 organizations with over 31.4 million pounds in grant fundings. These companies have cumulatively raised over 708 million pounds in follow-on funding. And this follow-on funding has been awarded as grants. So this is almost 23 times multiplier, showing that for every pound that we provide to startups, they raise around 23 times in further funding and investment. Out of this 700 plus million pounds, around 20% is commercial funding, which further illustrates that the focus on strong commercial models and scalability. Looking at previous funding in the next slide. So this slide shows past innovation funds which have focused on different topics. This is not the full list, but just to mention a few climate resilience and adaptation funds that have happened in the last few years: digital urban services, impactful AI, digital inclusion, and others. And if you move to the next slide, you'll see the geographical spread of some of these grants that we provided. This is Africa. You can clearly see that it's a mix across different regions. And we've just added a few more projects in our impactful AI, some based in Morocco. If you move to the next slide, you'll see a similar presentation in Asia. Here, most of the projects are in Pakistan, India, and Nepal. So again, a very good mix. So hopefully this gives you an overview of GSMA, the Innovation Fund, what we've done in the past, and some of our work. I will now hand over to my colleague, George, who's the Director, Climate Insights, who will take us through what the new fund is about and give us an overview of what are the key areas we are looking at. George, welcome.
Thank you very much, Leo. Hi, everyone. I'm George Camilla, as Leo said, Director of Climate Insights at the GSMA. Really appreciate everyone joining today and finding out more about the fund. So I'm going to share a bit more about the Innovation Fund round for green transition for mobile. This is a fund, as mentioned, designed to accelerate clean energy access, increase device circularity, and ultimately strengthen digital inclusion across low and middle income countries. So if we could stay on the previous slide there. So two key focus areas here, green energy access, device circularity. We see these two as very much complementary and envisage this round considering the interdependence between these two topics. The purpose of this round of the fund is rooted in this dual challenge. So on one hand, we have hundreds of millions of people, households still lacking access to reliable electricity. That makes it difficult to charge devices, access digital services, or participate in other energy-dependent economic activities. On the other hand, device affordability is continuing to be a big challenge and limiting many people from owning or maintaining a mobile handset. And of course, there are growing environmental and human health impacts from manufacturing and disposing of mobile phones, especially in the developing world. So with this fund, we're hoping to unlock innovative business models that address both of these barriers. The aim is really to enable a just and sustainable twin transition, ensuring that communities can access both the energy and the devices needed to thrive in an increasingly digital world. So we can go to the next slide. Just to dive a bit deeper onto the green energy access topic, I think, yeah, we can click through there. As we all know, in many low and middle income countries, unreliable and costly electricity is a huge barrier and limits everything from phone charging to data usage to digital inclusion. We also know from our research and engagement with mobile operators that the mobile network operators are also grappling with high and volatile energy costs, heavy reliance on diesel generators, and also frequent outages. And obviously, these challenges directly impact network expansion, coverage, and affordability for users. So with this fund, we're looking to support early stage, scalable, clean energy solutions. So as you can see at the bottom there, just some examples. These could include renewable mini grid developers, productive use energy solutions, mesh grids, smart metering, or innovative anchor business community, ABC models that use telecom towers as anchor tenants to extend clean energy access to surrounding communities. And really, the goal is to create energy systems that enable both connectivity and economic growth. If we go to the next slide, a bit more on device circularity. So we could click through the animations there. This is a rapidly growing opportunity globally. We've estimated there are roughly about 10 billion dormant phones sitting dormant in desk drawers, sitting unused, and lots of potential for recovering those devices for reuse, refurbishment, and recycling. We're also seeing very strong consumer interest in circular services like repair and refurbishment. And obviously, circular models offer both environmental and socioeconomic benefits for companies and for users. So here on the circularity topic, we are looking for innovations and business models that really seek to extend device lifespans and reduce e-waste. So you could see at the bottom there some examples of this: repair and refurbishment services and solutions, take-back schemes, logistics, reverse logistics and supply chain innovations that look to bring back devices that are not in use for reuse and recycling. We're looking at circular marketplaces for secondhand phones, traceability solutions, and responsible e-waste management programs and solutions as well. So, and just to highlight the environmental benefits as well of refurbished devices, we're looking at, 80, 90% carbon savings compared to an equivalent new phone if it was manufactured. But also, this class of device is also helping to increase device affordability and help to bridge the digital divide. And we also see many local economic and socioeconomic benefits as well with circular businesses and services, whether it's repair or recycling or refurbishment. If we could go to the next slide, just on the target impacts of both of these themes. So the first being climate impacts, so reduced or avoided life cycle emissions through renewable energy and circularity initiatives. Second is around digital inclusion, so improving access to affordable, high-quality devices and services, and ensuring that communities have reliable electricity to keep mobile services accessible. Third, the socioeconomic impacts. As I mentioned, creating employment opportunities and skill development across energy and circularity value chains, elevating local enterprises, and increasing access to inclusive finance for clean energy and refurbished devices and services. Ultimately, we're looking to support solutions that are commercially viable, scalable, and capable of delivering long-term impact for both operators and for communities. Excuse me. If we can go to the next slide, just a few tips for applicants as you're developing your proposals. Some recommendations from our side. First, to ensure that your project clearly aligns with either green energy access or device circularity. Please do clearly articulate the problem, your solution, how you tackle the challenge, and why it matters. Make sure to demonstrate how mobile and digital technologies is central to your innovation and why it cannot work without it. This is an important aspect of the solution. Third, using credible data to illustrate the challenge and your potential impact. Make sure about the scalability pathway, that it's realistic, whether it's through partnerships, business model design, or technology. Really develop a clear proposal, avoid unnecessary jargon, explain the context very clearly. And importantly, show how your work contributes to the long-term sustainability beyond the grant period, as we are looking for bold, practical, scalable, and locally informed solutions. With that overview, I'll now hand it back over to my colleague Leo, who will walk you through the grantee support package, eligibility requirements, and what we look for in strong proposals. Thanks, Leo.
Thank you, George, for that overview. I can already see a few questions targeted at different types of solutions. So keep them coming and we'll address them at the end. So I would like to now talk about grantee support and eligibility, on how we actually support grantees. It's not only about the grant funding. So I'll try and group it into 4 categories. The first one is obviously the grant funding. For this particular round, we are looking at between £100,000 and £200,000 for 15 to 18-month projects. These are disbursed after achieving agreed upon milestones. The second category is tools for growth, which is technical assistance. This has a wide range, but can range for digital technologies, assistance with business model support, operational efficiencies, product development. It can also be mail to help you with evidencing and tracking your impact. And we deliver this through a mix of both internal and external experts. Third category is tools for scale, which we've said is very important for this fund. And this is through facilitation of partnerships with mobile network operators and investors through our own networks. We will facilitate partnerships with MNOs because GSMA is a global association that works with mobile operators and their members. Finally, we have events that can increase grantees' profile and visibility, especially through our Mobile World Congress series. And for the GSMA Innovation Fund in particular, we normally have bootcamps where we bring together different startups to learn and engage. If you move to the next slide. So this is the eligibility criteria. So these are just some. We've pulled out some of the criteria for this fund. But we strongly encourage you to go to the terms and conditions, section 3, for a full list of the eligibility criteria. So I'll just go through a few of them in this call. So the first one is under who is eligible is the type of organization. So we support for-profit, private sector, small and growing enterprises in LMICs. These organizations with up to 250 employees. The second criteria that we really want to talk about and has been mentioned by George, you must leverage use of digital or mobile technologies in some way to deliver your solutions. So this is very broad. It can range from low-tech to advanced technologies such as AI, big data analytics, and others. So the main thing here is it needs to be appropriate to the context, user needs, and address the fund objectives. All projects must demonstrate long-term sustainability and scalability of their solution or provide a roadmap to that. For this particular fund, we're looking for projects that can sustain themselves financially through robust business models. And on scalability, if you see some of the questions when you're answering the pitch, you just need to show how your project is capable of scaling or replicability. And this can vary from whether it's through partnerships, whether it's different distribution models, or strong market demand or other things. Finally, you need to have active users and revenue. For revenue, this doesn't need to be for the proposed project or the proposed product. But here we are looking at organizational revenue as a whole. If you can move to the next slide. So another important criteria is match funding. So applicants must provide at least 25% match contribution of the total grant requested. So if you request for 100K, 25K will be needed as match. If it's 200K, it will be 50K and so on. What constitutes match? Match can be in cash or in kind funding. So if you want examples, again, of this, please go to the FAQs, and there's a very detailed section giving examples and the different types of categories of cash and in kind. When is this match contribution required? So we need you to secure this and evidence this by the time the final proposals are submitted, which is around September of 2026. The next criteria in the next slide is on geography. So in terms of geography, we shall fund organizations in countries that are eligible to receive official development assistance and are part of our eligible regions, which is Africa, South Asia, Southeast Asia, Central and South America. For specific countries, applicants must be registered and operating in the country of implementation. If not headquartered in an eligible country, you need to demonstrate how the project will be managed. And then note that GSMA cannot disperse payments to some of these countries for a number of reasons, such as legal and compliance. On geography, just to conclude, again, in the FAQs, there's a full list of all the eligible countries. So feel free to counter check. If you can go to the next slide. So we strongly encourage these types of applicants to apply. So as mentioned in our mobile for development pillars, gender inclusion is important for the fund. So we strongly encourage organizations that are female founded or female led or have good female representation at all levels. Strong presence in country presence or organizations that are strong, are locally led is also encouraged to apply. So we've seen locally led organizations in our past experience understand local context and issues better. They are better at execution, problem solving, and also scale their solutions faster. MNO value proposition is another important point. So applicants that demonstrate strong appetite and synergies with potential MNO. MNO is mobile network operator. So having an existing partnership is a plus, but if you don't have one, you need to show in your application that you have strong value proposition. Strong value proposition means does a mobile operator see value in your application and vice versa. So GSMA can help with these partnerships in implementation, but we want to see if there's any room for creating opportunities for mobile operators. And this can range again from whether it's driving new revenue streams for them, supporting them with innovation, if it's something to do with them tapping into new markets or new customer segments, or even improving mobile penetration or data usage or some of their MNO services. If you are, the last point here is, I mean, we've talked about scaling and we've also talked about low income population, so I won't talk about that again. But if you are a past grantee, you need to show very clear additionality for new projects for you to be strongly considered. So those are the key areas where we encourage our applicants. We'll now move to the next slide. So this slide talks about the Innovation Fund process, application process, which takes around 10 months. So we are currently in the first box, which is application stage. And the first important deadline is the 6th of April, where you need to have submitted your pitch. The next stage is called project evaluation stage, where shortlisted applicants are contacted. They'll start directly working with GSMA to develop their project proposal. In June, in the next box, a recommendation panel made up of GSMA and experts, independent experts, will review all the proposals and recommend the most impactful ones to go to the next stage, which is the project appraisal. During this recommendations panel, applicants will virtually pitch their projects to the panel. Under the project appraisal stage, here projects will go through in-depth due diligence, both and especially on the project due diligence. So on the project due diligence, this is where we try and get a better understanding of the project to verify what was submitted in the previous stage, and also to meet your customers, meet your partners, see what's happening on the ground, and also to get a very clear picture of the solution. After that, we have a final selection panel, which reviews the due diligence results and recommends whether a project can be funded or not funded. The final stage is contracting, which leads to contract execution, and the projects will begin in hopefully in December. So that's an overview of the timeline, the processes. And it's really important to see how your solution will be progressing or your project will be progressing through the different stages. The next slide is going to focus on the grant management platform. So for those who have already started their pitches, they've already interacted with this. Just a few tips. I won't go through each step, but the platform does not have an autosave, so you need to keep saving as you keep filling your form and after every session. And then a very important tip is please ensure you hit the submit button before the 6th of April. Otherwise, your application will either be hanging or not be considered. So we'll obviously send reminders, but please just ensure that your application is submitted and you will receive a confirmation of receipt. So that gives an overview of some of the things we're looking at and some of our processes and timelines. If you move to the next slide. Yeah, so you've heard a lot from us, but we'd also like to hear from a current grantee who has gone through all of this. So I'm checking if Yusuf is available, and if he can turn on his screen.
Hello, Leo. I am available.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Awesome, awesome. I'm good. So just to introduce the session, Yusuf has gone through this whole timeline and is quite experienced in this GSMA process. And the project just began a month ago, if I'm not wrong. So we would like to hear his own experience and advice for potential grantees in this cohort. So for those, sorry. So welcome, Yusuf, again. And I just have a few questions for you. We'll start with just you talking about yourself and the Tume AI solution for those who have not, who do not know you and know your work.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot, Leo. Thanks for having me here. And hope what I have to say is going to be helpful for all of the applicants. So I'm Youssef. I'm one of the co-founders at Tumai. So we're a Moroccan company. And essentially what we're doing is we're working on conversational voice agents for emerging market languages. And specifically, the project that we essentially are working on with GSMA is to bring conversational agents onto mobile apps so that a user of any kind of mobile app can talk to the mobile app, and the mobile app will execute actions or provide answers and help the user and really represent the brand of the app. And obviously, we're doing this in local language. So various kinds of dialects and other kinds of languages spoken across Africa, with a specific focus with GSMA on North African Arabic dialects and Berber. So that's really the project that we're working on with GSMA, and we're very, very grateful to have had the grant.
Okay. And why did you apply for the GSMA Innovation Fund, and how was the process? Just providing a general overview before we go into specifics.
Sure, yeah. So it made a lot of sense for us to apply because we had a lot like commercial use cases around working in call centers, working on customer speech analytics, these kinds of things. And we really thought that there was an impact aspect to what we were working on, which is really bringing the technology to the people directly through mobile apps. And it's a very kind of disruptive approach. It's very new. And so it was very important for us to have the backing of an actor that can do multiple things. Firstly, that can de-risk the innovation that we're building. And we really saw GSMA's mission as in part being this. We also wanted to have a partner that could help us scale the solution, find our first partners and scale the solution. We knew that there were a lot of MNOs, so like telco operators, who are interested in this type of solution to integrate onto their super apps, mainly because it unlocks a lot of users across the continent who aren't very digitally savvy, or who might be, have kind of low literacy rates as well. And so, given what GSMA does with telcos and MNOs, we saw this as the perfect opportunity as well to really kind of enter that. So those were some of the main reasons. And also we wanted to build our credibility and impact narrative. And I think this was something where we saw that GSMA could really help us craft that properly as well, because we had a few challenges internally on doing something that was very credible on that side. So those were, I think, the kind of three reasons why we applied. High level, how the experience of applying was, and then we can go into details. I'm happy to answer more detailed questions. But so obviously it's a very long process. It's very structured. One very high level advice I'd give is don't think that this grant is like kind of just easy money that you should just apply for just in case. It's not one of those. It's a high investment application in the sense that it is going to take a chunk of your time building the application. It's very thorough. There's a lot of documentation that you need to prepare. There's a full due diligence that you need to go through. I actually said this to Leo at the time, but we've raised a pre-seed round with investors, and their due diligence was nowhere close to the level of due diligence we did with GSMA. So it was a very, very heavy process. And I think actually, if you are willing to go through that because you know that the grant really matches your project, it's an advantage for you, because I think a lot of applicants realize how heavy it is and they just give up. And also, if you take it in a positive light, it can really help you better structure yourself as a company as well. So yeah, that's my high level kind of view on everything on that.
Okay. So you've talked about a few of the reasons, which I also covered, which is credibility and the impact narrative. So I think startups also struggle with this. We can get startups that are either too far on the commercial side with no impact or focus on underserved. So I think that was a good balance that we did with you. And also you've talked about some of this facilitation with partners, with mobile operators, which of course you will see during the grant. On the heavy, so now to dig into some of your responses, on the heavy aspects of the application process. How has this strengthened your company in any way from a compliance or fiduciary point of view? Could you just talk about that?
Yeah. So this is why I was saying it was painful initially, but it's a good investment, I think, if you're willing to go through that. I think one thing actually I would add is that you should apply to the grant if the project that you're applying for is definitely on your roadmap on the kind of short midterm. Don't apply for a project which is, very, very far on your roadmap, because you're going to have like very stringent conditions on how you can use the funds and timing, etc. So you kind of want to make sure you're not accelerating something on your roadmap by accident just because you got the grant money. So, I think we really saw this as an opportunity actually to go a lot faster on an element on our roadmap, which we wanted to explore and really kind of double down on. So what, the this the fact that it was such a structured application was actually quite helpful for us, because typically, firstly, it helps you better structure your various policies and documentation, which, going forward as a startup that's becoming more mature, you want to make sure you have. And I can give an example. Recently, we signed a contract with a kind of tier one bank here in Morocco. And as part of their supplier due diligence, they actually required us to provide some of this documentation, which I think if we hadn't applied and done all this work with GSMA in advance, I think we would have taken a lot more time to prepare the documentation and provide. Here, literally in one day, I was able to actually send them everything. And so the contracting phase was very, very smooth. So, it's small benefits like that which really add up. Another aspect is like talking to investors. I think having GSMA as like a brand is really strong, because especially when they realize like the work that GSMA did in the background to help you to do their due diligence, it is a very big kind of credibility marker as well. I mean, as part of due diligence, you have to, get your accounts kind of audited, and, like a lot of things, which going down the, later on when talking to investors, you have all of these things that you've already done, you have a strong data room, all of these things, so it just makes the process a lot smoother as well. So I think generally it was very helpful. And then there's a reporting aspect. So I know like very early startups, a lot of them struggle to do reporting. And obviously reporting is not just for when you have investors. Even internally, it's a good practice to be able to have reporting among co-founders, etc. And I think that the fact that we also have now reporting requirements with GSMA has really helped us structure the reporting a lot better as well.
Thanks, Youssef. And that is also something echoed by other startups who've gone through this process and completed their grants. They're able to apply for bigger funds, other funding instruments in an easier way, as they already have gone through all this process in terms of getting their policies, their documents, their compliance in order. So you've also talked about trying to ensure that the proposed project is not too far from the core business. What other advice would you give startups applying for the first time?
Yeah, I think the other one you touched on it, Leo, is you need a good balance. So in our case, for the Innovation Fund for Impactful AI, I'd say there were three criteria which were very important to hit on and kind of make sure that what how your application reflects those three criteria well. So one of them was obviously the business aspect. Are you making sure that what you're building is sustainable from a business perspective? You're not just doing an R&D project that probably most likely has very little chances of succeeding. The other two aspects were, so one of them was obviously the impact focus, which as you said, Leo, is something which sometimes we tend to minimize or not talk about so much. So here I think it was quite important also to show how, what our theory of change is, how our solution is going to impact the lives of people, of everyday people in our region. So I think that was a very important thing for us to show. And we look forward also to setting up we're setting up now all the metrics, etc., with GSMA. So it's something we're really following through with. It's not just something you do as part of the application and then you just leave it in a corner. And then the third criteria for this fund was the innovative aspect of what you're doing, which we also obviously had to focus on. So there were these three criteria, and I think generally speaking, when you're applying to a fund with GSMA, you have to make sure you understand the criteria well, because if you're over indexed on only one criteria, but actually there were two or three or four, that could weaken, I guess, your application.
Yeah, and just to mention for the participants, if you make it through the next stage, you will be you will work hand in hand with a manager, a GSMA manager, who will help you through this whole process. So, for example, for Tumei, for you, Youssef, I remember we had a few challenges with one of these criteria, and we had to work really hard to strengthen it.
Exactly.
I'll move, still a similar question. Actually, would you talk about jargon? I know I didn't send this through, but use of jargon in applications.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a good point actually. So obviously, I think every startup working in a specific field uses a lot of jargon that is specific to that field. And we use it so many times, and you even use it with your customers because they're in the same world as you. And so you kind of end up just underestimating the fact that a lot of these technical words are not necessarily understood by people who are not in your kind of industry. So I think, yeah, it's important to simplify as much as possible the wording that you use in your applications and to make it as clear as possible for any person coming from any industry to understand.
Awesome. I'll now move from the selection process. You've just been in implementation for, I think, just 1 or 2 months, so still very early stage. But I think you can still talk about the support, the GSMA experience that you've gone through so far.
Yeah, no, I mean we've been very lucky. We've received a lot of support from GSMA, even though, as you said, it's just been 1 month since we signed and we started implementing. But we've had the opportunity of, firstly, lots of introductions with potential partners, whether they're potential customers, potential. I mean, we do R&D stuff, so like introductions to academics, introductions to a lot of different partners within the ecosystem. GSMA actually has a very wide reach. Initially, we thought it was going to be very telco focused, and obviously, telcos are a big part of GSMA, but actually, GSMA has a very wide network of non-telco actors as well that we've really benefited from. And specifically, we're very lucky to attend two key events. So one of them in Doha for MWC, the Mobile World Congress, where I actually got to present to the GSMA Foundation Board the project that we'd be working on. So I got to meet very, very high level people, like the number one, CEOs of group telcos. So it's very, very high exposure. I also was lucky to attend MWC in Barcelona not too long ago. Same thing, lots of introductions in person to very high level people who can really sponsor your project, back you, and give you all the credibility you need to open the doors that you need to open. So, we're very, very grateful for that as well.
Awesome. Any key outcomes, any key highlights, maybe one or two from attending some of these events, apart from the GSMA Foundation Board?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to start. There definitely there've been some introductions that have been made and that we've pursued, which have allowed us to really have a better idea of how to solve some of the technical issues that we're facing, just because GSMA provided an intro to an actor that is already working on some of the things that we need to work on. So it really allows us also to focus on where we have the most value add and to have partners where we need for the things that they've already done and that we can reuse to go a lot faster. So there was that on the technical side, like for shrinking models, that was actually an important one because it was a big technical challenge. And we're finding now a few partners who actually have developed stuff that will really help us go a lot faster on some of these dimensions. There's also like the commercial side. Obviously, big corporates take time, but I think for now we've been having very fruitful discussions with potential customers who actually want to use the solution that we're building. So I think on that front, it's been very helpful as well.
Awesome. So only one last question for me is, we've talked about the selection, the implementation, project implementation stage. What are you looking to accomplish during this grant?
Yeah, so I think the objective for us during this grant, there are two objectives. One of them obviously is on the commercial side, to show that the innovation that we're building, actually the market wants it and is willing to pay for it once we've proven the ROI. That's really the de-risking side of things. So, for now, it's still relatively new. There's a lot of interest, but when it comes to pricing, it's difficult to get customers to commit on long-term contracts because they still want to test things. So I think GSMA is really helping us de-risk the partnership side of things, where we can actually do pilots, test things, and see how it works and how we can structure that. And then there's the impact side. So really, I think by the end of we have multiple milestones and objectives in terms of, setting up or beefing up some of our policies internally, but also having set up like proper metrics and way of measuring the impact that our solution is having. And I think that's going to be really important for us going forward we've already started talking to various, impact oriented foundations and others. So it really opens up a new universe also of potential partners, including for funding, but also for deploying, which we hadn't necessarily considered before. So really looking forward to measuring the impact and showing results on the impact side of things as well.
Awesome. And sometimes it's great to hear from somebody who's been through this process and an actual founder's view of the GSMA process. So I hope for everybody this has been useful. Youssef, you've done a great job of summarizing what we offer, some of your experiences, and I really thank you for creating time to join us. We will be, of course, cheering you on from the sidelines and hope you have a very successful project. Thanks, Youssef.
Thanks very much, Leo. Appreciate it.
Awesome. And if you have any questions for Youssef, specifically for Youssef, please let us know. So we'll move to the final section of the webinar, which is addressing your questions. So I'll call on my colleagues. If you could just turn on your cameras and just I'll try and shoot some of the questions to you. So bear with me. I'm going to be reading this for the first time. Okay. So the first question here is, can a business apply? Can a business apply under one product line? So there are two things here. Let me get my notes. So I'm not sure if I fully understand your question, but you can have you can have more than one product line. Let's say your solution is focusing on mini grids, and you would also want to have, let's say, another work stream around smart metering or anything to do with energy storage. That is allowable as long as it comes in one submission or one application. If your question, however, is about submitting more than one application, so that's a different answer. So multiple submissions of the same project are not permitted. So in cases where this happens, the first submission is viewed as eligible and the rest are not reviewed. And then the third, I'm just trying to cover all bases just in case we misunderstood your question. The third angle is a single organization can submit multiple applications for different projects. And more details on that are in the FAQs. So it really depends which one you really meant. If it's product line, that's okay. If for more than one. I hope I've answered that question. I'll move to the next. So the next question is focused on clean cooking. Are solutions working to advance adoption of electric cooking by leveraging digital technologies eligible? Is this considered to be advancing clean energy access? So I think I'll hand that to Zach to address us. Zach, if you could just quickly introduce yourself and then tackle the question.
Sure thing. Hi, my name is Zach White. I'm the Insights Director for the Climate Tech Program at Mobile for Development. So yeah, it's a good question, and it's one I've had on the fund before. So I think we recognise that clean cooking has a really important role in supporting energy systems and energy use, particularly when it's at a large scale and using a lot of power in the daytime. So I think it is related to some of the fund objectives. However, in considering applying, I'd encourage you to look carefully at the fund objectives, because we do expect to see solutions that are more directly related to those. So I would say it does not rule you ineligible, but I would consider carefully the objectives of the fund and the alignment of your particular project. Leo, you'll need to find the mute button.
Sorry about that. So I'll try and group them into, bunch them up into eligibility or energy questions. So still on you, Zach, a question from Aisha Ahmed. We run agriculture marketplace in Pakistan. Can we apply, or the scope is limited to energy?
Hi Aisha. I will not advise on a specific project without more details. I would say on the face of it, it doesn't sound like it is aligned with the sector focus and the funds. But you know, agriculture can have lots of different facets. So I'd say on the face of it, it does not appear so, but I'd review the T's and C's and the eligibility criteria carefully. And if you still have questions, there is a way to reach out to the Innovation Fund team. So it seems unlikely, but I'd review it yourself, and I can't advise just on that information.
Okay, thank you, Zach. The other question here is from Mariama Kamara on support. Can you explain the match funding aspect? Is it only capital matching, or is anything else applicable? So good opportunity for Elizabeth to just introduce herself and answer this.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Bookout. I'm the head of subgrant compliance for the GSMA Foundation. So I think Leo covered this earlier in his presentation, but match funding can be a mixture of cash or capital contributions to the project, or it can also be in-kind contributions to the project. So that can be existing equipment, it can be staff time. And so for a list of additional examples of the types of match funding we tend to see on applications and grant funding projects, we encourage you to check out the FAQ document because we've provided a long list of examples there to help you think about the different types of match funding that you could propose for your application.
Thanks, Elizabeth. I'll move to another question here. I'm not sure I fully get it, but we'll try and answer. This is Daniele. I'll just go straight to the actual question. I think it's a solution very specialized in solar e-waste refurbishing and repurposing, followed by mainly B2B distribution via solar retailers and partners. They could invest more in integrating their activity through the refurbishment of smartphones and add connectivity hardware to their solar solutions. This concept would cover both clean energy and circularity. So it's a double focus line. Is there a preference for focus on one of the two pillars, or is there a preference for focus of one of the two pillars and more innovation? So I think I can answer this. If your solution truly focuses on both pillars of the innovation fund or for this fund, and both elements are strong, they have strong innovative aspects, both are scalable and have commercial sustainability and scalability, then it should qualify. However, I would urge if the solution or if the proposed project can focus on strongly, if one is stronger than the other, that would be more ideal. So you'll need to make a call on how you're going to position the project. I'll move to the next one. Harris, no, that's AI. Daniele, could you please circulate an application template after the webinar? So this is how we apply to the Innovation Fund is through our grant management platform, which is called Flux. So you need to, you can go either through our terms and conditions first to see that you're eligible. And then if you're eligible, you need to first register in the grant management platform. One of my colleagues can post it on the chat. After you register, you complete and submit the eligibility form. If eligible, you will receive an automated access to the application questionnaire, and then you will now access the the template, as you call it, and you can be able to fill in. So you need to go through the process of submitting your application, and we do not have any templates to share on chat or anything like that. There's another question here on, I think still on you, Zach, but I don't know if you had addressed it in the first instance. Are there any guidelines on how clean cooking mobile tech solutions can be aligned with the objectives of the GSMA Fund?
Yeah, thanks. And on that one, Solomon, I'd refer you to the FAQs. I think as expressed before around clean cooking, it's not strictly ineligible, but I would raise questions around its alignment with the fund objectives. And for assessing those, the first two FAQs have kind of detailed answers around what we consider a strong application, both the project and the company. So my advice is, without more details, I wouldn't want to give a solid answer, but I'd be looking at those FAQs and making your assessment. It is competitive, these innovation funds, so I think a strong alignment with the core fund objectives is really important to keep in mind.
And if you have if you have a follow-up on that, please use our inbox, and we can, the GSMAF inbox, and we can give you more details. Martin, country revenue startups apply. So the fund focuses on post-revenue, but if you are an early stage, small and growing enterprise whose revenue has come primarily from non-commercial sources, you may be deemed eligible if you can demonstrate clear and a reliable roadmap to commercial revenue. So if you have not generated any revenue, you are not eligible to apply. Clement Pereke, for pre-launch enterprises with a proven model from other product verticals, how does the fund evaluate commercial viability evidence? So there are a few things. I can take this on. If you're generating revenue from other verticals, that would make you eligible for the fund as an organization. But for the proposed project, GSMA will have a more in-depth due diligence process with you. We look at the viability of the product readiness, the stage at which it's been developed, and also our on-ground visits where we meet your partners, customers, whether it's B2B customers or B2C customers, is a way for us to kind of gauge. We also have experience in some of these markets, so it's a holistic process of assessing your commercial viability. I hope that answers your question. Next question. I think there was one for Prince Tilia. So I missed yours earlier on, but on circularity, is it specifically for mobile devices alone? George, you could handle that.
Yeah, hi, Prince. Yes, it is the focus on mobile devices, not on other device types or equipment types. As you saw from the strategic objectives, we're also looking at not just environmental impacts, but also digital inclusion angle as well. So thanks for the question.
Okay. Can a consortium apply for the fund? You cannot apply as a consortium and become co-grantees. We can only have one organization, which we've talked about. It's an SME below 250 employees, being the lead applicant, applying for the fund, being the lead applicant, and it should be the it should be the organization that is in charge of delivering majority of the grant deliverables. However, you can have other partners as who play a role in the implementation of the project. So they can be partners to the project, not co-grantees or have a co-application. I hope that answers that question. Would a software-led carbon tracking emissions intelligent solution for freight be considered a strong fit for this fund, even if it doesn't directly provide energy, hardware, or circular devices? I don't know who can take that one on.
I just replied a little further down. It sounds like a really interesting project. It is aligned broadly with some of the work that we do. I would say for this fund, if the focus of the solution is freight specifically, it wouldn't present a strong alignment with the objectives of this fund.
Okay. And then for MIAT, for software-led projects, how direct does the energy or circularity impact need to be during the grant period? I'm not sure I fully quite get that. If you could rephrase, maybe Miat, we could answer it, but I don't think we've fully understood that. Or Zach, please take it on.
Yeah, if you're able to clarify the how direct, I think that would be particularly useful. I mean, one of the eligibility criteria is active users. So if you didn't have active users who were benefiting from circularity or energy services, I think that would be a pretty good indication that it's not direct enough.
Okay. The next one is Andrew. Hi, am I eligible if my company is in Singapore and works on device circularity, and the project can be beneficial to countries in Laos? I think, Elizabeth, you can take that one on implementation in different countries and being headquartered in another country.
Sure. Yeah, so you're welcome to apply if your company is headquartered in a country that's not listed in our eligible market, such as Singapore, so long as your project that you're proposing will be implemented in an eligible country. And keep in mind that when you submit your application, you're going to need to be able to demonstrate how you will be able to implement that project in that local market. So if it's a market that you don't currently have a operating entity in, a local entity in, you would need to have identified a local partner that you're going to work with, or be able to explain in the proposal how you plan to implement that project in a country that you don't have a physical presence in. And keep in mind that some countries, we do require an in-country local presence, and those are identified in the FAQ document.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And I think you've also covered the next question on BICEAD on I think your company is based in US, but you want to work in either Asia or Latin America. So I think Elizabeth's response also covers for that. So moving on, Solomon, can the link of the eligibility form or application be shared here? We can share the landing page and then you can start the process of applying, but it's similar to a question I'd answered on how you submit your application. Can a proposal project be only restricted to cash payments or even payment in installments for pay-as-you-go business can a proposal project be only restricted to cash payments or even payment in installments for pay-as-you-go business also encouraged? Zach, maybe you can just speak broadly as on pay-as-you-go.
Yeah, Charlotte, I don't fully follow the second part of your question, but to answer the first really clearly, can a project be only restricted to cash payments? Certainly not. And in fact, digital inclusion is one of the big aims of this fund. So integration with pay-as-you-go businesses, I think certainly more on the energy side is more likely. I think in terms of the energy solutions we're looking at, they are slightly higher use. And certainly on the productive use side, we'd expect to see a financing component being a large part of that, a lot of that digitally enabled. So I hope that's clear, but I think the clearest answer is restricted to cash payments, certainly not. And in fact, digital financial inclusion, more innovative and inclusive financing models are certainly encouraged.
Okay. And another one, which is very specific, can laptops be included in the devices for the GSMA grant?
Thanks, Leo. Thanks for the question, Charlotte. No, we are focusing here on mobile devices, specifically mobile handsets, in this round.
Okay. I don't know if that was meant to be on device circularity, but just in case it wasn't, if Charlotte, you meant something around use of grant funds, Elizabeth, could you just quickly talk about that?
I think if the question is, can GSMA grant funds be used to purchase laptops? That I'd say it depends on the project you're proposing. And we do typically allow a small amount of grant funds to be used to purchase devices such as laptops when they are a key component of the project that's being delivered. But the fund guidelines do limit the amount of funding that can go towards purchases such as retained assets like laptops that you would then continue to use after the grant period.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Thanks, everyone. So I think we've covered all the questions. Some might not have been very clear. So if you feel that we haven't sufficiently answered your question, please use the GSMAF inbox. If you could move to the next slide so that we can just take note of that. Yes. So here is the email address. I think we've already received a bunch of questions. So if you've attended this and you want some additional information, please use that email address. And for those, there are a few questions on how do I get started in my application? How do I get the application questionnaire and all that? This is an easy way. If you haven't seen the charts from the team, you can also scan this. It will take you to the landing page and you can see some instructions, including a big red button on apply. So thank you everybody for taking part in this session. Thank you for joining. As mentioned earlier, recordings will be available on the page, on the landing page. If you need to revisit any information, please use that. Important deadline, again, that I would like to reiterate is the 6th of April to submit. And we are really looking forward to seeing some of the solutions that you guys will submit. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful day wherever you are.